Good evening. Welcome back to the Franchise Time Machine. Tonight we're doing a weird little sim that came up during today's Laptophound stream. And if you're not already following or watching Laptophound streams, I highly recommend it. He's um, one of the big OOTP slash perfect team um, streamers. Hey, D Block, welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight. Um, so yeah, so Laptop Hound focuses on lower level. There are two lower level draft tournaments named after him. They're called the 5L and the 6L. So the lower level Laptop Hounds lower level leisure lounge and the late Laptop Hounds lower level leisure lounge. And he also does the all packs league or teams. So these are teams that don't buy anything in the card shop and only buy packs and use cards that they pull from packs or from missions completed using cards from packs. Um, and so and his stream's great. He's been streaming for a long time, and he's a big fan of Dave Stieb. And during this cycle, he's become a big fan of this Kitty Bransfield card, who plays first base in bronze. Hey Minerva, welcome to the Franchise Time Machine. Thanks for getting in, appreciate it. I caught most of your stream tonight, and I always like watching people build their rosters and understand how they're thinking about them. So good luck with that gold roster you were building. I was just introducing tonight. It's Oh, actually, I grabbed the wrong title. I'm going to switch this. I changed the title a little bit. I do not, A-Dub, I do not have the kitty song. I actually changed the title right before I went on. So let me pull up the newer version. I'm now calling this, hold on. I'm gonna have to change it on the fly. Yeah, do it live. I changed it to Team Kitties and Steebs, which I liked a little bit. So let me, it's here. It just didn't make it into OBS somehow. So I'm gonna grab that real quick. While I'm doing this, I'll talk about this Kitty Bransfield card. I think it's just kind of taken a life of its own. It's got a song that people seem to love or hate. Um, A Dub, are you on the love or hate side of that? You like the top right of that slide? Yeah, that's not the part that changed. So all I did was change the title. So I'm just gonna drop this in here. Sorry, bear with me, guys. All right, we should be good to go now. Okay, this is what I intended to name it: Kitties and Steebs. So I don't know. I think the card's okay. I wish it had more eye. There are a bunch of other first basemen I would pick before Kitty in 5L and 6L, which is the only reason I commented today. And then I got like kind of mock scolded by Laptop. And as he was doing that, I started thinking like, man, Laptop really likes. He really likes Dave Stieb. I bet I can make a whole roster of Dave Steeves and Kitty Bransfield, and we'll drop them into 2023 like we do with all these other teams. So that's what we're going to do tonight. I did a little bit of baseball reference research, and what I like to do when I do this isn't just make 12 different copies of Dave Stieb and 14 different copies of Kitty to form the 26-man roster. If they have a long enough a career, I like to turn each year of their career into a player. And so I'll even name them like Dave Stieb and then in parentheses 1985 and then 1986. So you can kind of follow and see which version of Dave Stieb is doing what and which version of Kitty is doing what. So I'm going to do that tonight, and part of it is like by doing it from scratch, you'll get to see how easy it is to do this, especially using a text file to create the roster and just bring everyone in at once. And then we'll have to use editor a little bit. And so I know not everyone's familiar with editor, especially if you haven't played a lot of base game. We're gonna have to do a little bit of editing to give at least a couple of the kitties some catching ability. Um, Catches with zero. I mean, we could do that, but I do want to give this team a fighting chance. D Block says Kitty is one of the few first players who's better VR, so there's a pretty good platoon options for the Camille, for example. Yeah, VL. Yeah, no, you're right. Um, but one of the reasons I like the Salida card is I feel like he's not that splitty. So I use that Salida card VL and VR. But you're right. Like, but I don't think I wasn't under the impression that that Laptop Hound platoons Kitty. I was under the impression that he just starts him at first base the whole way. Um, and some people don't care about I, and if you don't care about I, his card is great. I like I tend to look at on base percentage and OPS instead of just contact and power. But that's just me. A-Dub says slide and stall definitely not platooning, but others definitely are. Yeah, for sure. Oh, stall's another one. You're right. That doesn't have to platoon. That's a good call out. And I was never a big power I person in PT24, but I don't know if others because there are just more of them in PT25 or it's just they're more prevalent in early cycle. And I never played early cycle last year. I found myself becoming like a power I person earlier this year, meaning cards that have high power and high I, regardless of everything else. But anyway, I thought this would be a fun thing to do. I also thought it'd be a good way to demonstrate how quickly you can do this. So I had the idea this morning. I could have just turned around and done it during the day, but I have a job and stuff, so I wasn't going to do that. But I could come on tonight and just show everybody how quickly you can do this. So yeah, so Adub mentioned the slide, the image on the top of the right slide. So this is I found a picture of Kitty on the top left. The top right is a screenshot from the video, which D Block was kind enough to give me a link to. And as I was doing, I said, I can't believe I'm asking this, but please send me a link to the Kitty song. There's a Dave Stieb photo on the bottom right, and then of course the beloved Laptophound on the bottom left. I do have a link now. I do. So we're just going to go in and do this. There are a couple of different ways you can bring players into the base game from different years. If they're already in the year you're playing in, it's no problem. You just can, go into the player and change them. Oh, do I have the case on? I guess I do, but so I'm new to streaming. I still don't know how to put anything with sound into the stream other than my mic. So I haven't done anything like that. I'm figuring all this stuff as I go. So in the base game, you can bring people in one at a time using their player ID and then the year of their career you want to bring in. But you can create a file like this in advance where you just have all the players you want, all of their player IDs, all of their years, and then if you want, the three-letter abbreviation of the team. And I've been using Franchise Time Machine as the team name, so FTM. If you leave this third column blank, or just don't have the second comma in the third field, it'll just drop your players into the free agency pool, which is fine, or it's actually what you want if you want everyone to have access to the players. The downside is if you want them on your team, then you have to go back into the free agent pool and find them and then get them onto your team. So I prefer this way. So we're going to create a file like this for this team. And when you're only doing two players but different years, it's even easier to do than this was to put together. So we'll do that. And in the past couple of weeks, I've learned a lot about how to do these sims better with fewer disruptions or, frankly, like mess ups from the AI, changing lineups and stuff, but also still doing them quickly. And so, after I think over a decade of playing base game, just in the last couple weeks, I've learned probably more than I knew from the first 10 years of playing. And so I want to put all of that into these upcoming episodes to show how to do this quickly and cleanly. And by cleanly, I mean, you keep the players you added in, and the AI doesn't add like extraneous players to your roster, like kind of messing up your stats or your lineups and stuff. So, yeah, so the first thing we'll do is we'll identify the player IDs and the years we want for Dave Steeb and Kitty Bransfield. And the best way I know how to do that is to use baseball reference. Oh, the other improvement on this one, this episode, is last night when I was doing the Father's Day stream, I had some help from the chat on how to share my game screen so the pop-up windows show up. I didn't realize that they weren't being shared, and so I'd be like saying, "Oh, this window comes up, and then you do this and this," and no one could see it. So now I think with the settings I have, you'll be able to see all that. So that'll be a big improvement too. Um, but anyway, there are two places I know of where you can find a player's player ID, and that's the first column in this spreadsheet. Sorry, it's not a spreadsheet; it's actually a text file. And the first one is actually in the game. And once we're in the game, I'll show you in Editor where you can find a player's player ID. But the other place is because you don't necessarily want to go into the game to find a player every time. Is you can just find it in Baseball Reference. So here's the Baseball Reference screen for Kitty. And if you look at the top in the URL, it's this 5 letters for the last name, first 2 letters of the first name, and then a number. So in this case, it's BRANS for Bransfield, and then KI for Kitty, and then 01. So in Baseball Reference, and also therefore in OOTP, this 7 letter 2 number code will always take you to Kitty Bransfield. So this is the first thing we need. So let me start up a fresh notepad, and I'm going to copy this URL. Then here's the notepad, and I'm just going to paste it in. Okay. And then I'm just going to do comma FTM because we know we're going to drop him into the franchise time machine team. And I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste this. Okay, so now we should have 14 kitties. We just don't have years for those yet, because we haven't filled this in. So the next thing we'll do is go in and see what years was he active. So we'll go back to BREF, or sorry, Baseball Reference, and I don't think I finished the story earlier. So uh, Lap's giving me a hard time because I wasn't enthusiastic about having to pick Kitty Bransfield in one of the drafts. And so I'm thinking like, okay, I bet I can make this roster. And so I was looking it up while watching his stream, and it looked like, and my counts could be wrong. We'll double check as we do this right now. I think so. Dave Steve having 12 seasons was no problem. I think he had like 14 or 15, even though some of them were partial seasons as he got hurt later in his career. So we have plenty of Dave Steve, so we can fill out an entire pitching staff with that. I think with Kitty, we only had 12. And so there are a couple things we could do. One was I was thinking I can make a peak Kitty using like the best attributes from across the remaining seasons. That'll get us to 13. Or I can take like his 2 best seasons and copy and paste them. So we have, or just import them twice. So we have his 2 best seasons twice. Or I was thinking like if there's another player Lap really likes, we can add that player. Or I was thinking, I always bring up Roberto Kelly because Roberto Kelly broke up when Dave Steve's perfect game bid. I think in the ninth inning. So I thought about adding Roberto Kelly to round out the lineup, or we can just go with uh, 12 kitties and 14 Steves. So instead of the normal 14 batters and 12 pitchers, we'd have 12 batters and 14 pitchers. Um, I still haven't decided, so we can figure it out as we go. And then the other thing is you'll get to see how to use editor, especially for fielding a little bit, because like I was saying earlier, I think we need to add some catching ability to a couple of the kitties. Otherwise, you'll have like a zero catcher. If you have a zero catcher, it doesn't matter how much experience they get; they will never advance beyond zero because they have no fundamental catching ability to build the experience on top of. And the same will go for positions like shortstop and second base and center field. If Kitty, um, let's say, has like a very low turn double play rating, you know, I'm actually okay leaving that blank though, because part of the fun of these experiments is you have players playing out of position and seeing what happens when you do that. It's just that like having a zero ability catcher really kind of breaks the simulation. Okay, so for Kitty, if you go full seasons, I'm looking at, yeah, I think you can see this. You've got starting in 1901, you've got 01, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 full seasons. And then if the, I'm hoping they have player cards in the game for this. For we can pull 1898 where he had 9 at bats. That would get us to 11. And then the problem here is 2011. At first I thought he had 14 seasons, but it turns out these last few rows are a split season. 1911, he played with Philadelphia and Chicago. So that's why we're going to have 12. So we'll start with that and we'll see where that takes us. Especially curious to see whether he has a player. I still call it a card because I've been playing so much Perfect Team, but does he have a player um, profile in 1898? If he doesn't, then the problem grows even bigger and not having enough Kitty Bransfields to go around. But I don't see any interruptions here. So I think it's just straight through 1901 through 1911 after we do 1898. So going back to this, all you have to do is the way I set these up is you just go up to the top. It doesn't have to be in order. I just do that to kind of keep things organized. 1898, 1901, 1902. And now I'm realizing I should have just done the copy and paste after, because then I could have just gone and changed the single digits at the end of the year. Um, I'm always finding ways to do things easier. Or so each one of these lines is going to pull in a different player onto the roster. And if I wanted to do that doubling up on peak seasons, I would just, let's say, enter in 1907 twice, and it would pull in two separate kitties from 1907. Oh, and as I'm doing that, I talk myself into typing that. Okay, so confirmed. I made 14 of these. I only used 12. I'll show you that. I only used 12 of them. So um, I did confirm that we're a couple of kitties short of a full 14. Okay, then we're just going to do the same for Dave Steeb. So we'll go back to baseball reference. The good thing is this is we're pulling in entire careers. We don't have to go through the exercise like picking out which seasons we want to choose. We're just going to grab them all. So Dave Steeb. It'll also be fun to see which versions of Dave Steeb the AI chooses to put in the rotation and in different roles in the bullpen. Um, I'm assuming um, that for the number one starter, it's going to pick one of these seasons where Dave Steve had the lowest WHIP. And he had a couple of seasons where he led the league in hits per 9 innings. I'm assuming it'll be one of those seasons at the AL pick, but it'll be interesting to see. So for Dave Steve, we're going to grab everything from his rookie year in 1979 through, and I'm just making sure there were no interruptions for injury. See, all the way through 93. You can tell here towards the tail end, the injuries just kind of took their toll. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So we can go all the way up through his age 34 season. With the 12 kitties, that would give us a 26-man roster. So for now, let's go 12 kitties and 14 Steebs. So everything from 79 through 92. Oh, and let's grab that BREF from the URL. Here it is, the Steeb DA01. So I'm just going to grab that to copy in. So 1979 FTM. So I'm just going to do this one time first to do the 1980. And once it's 80, I just have to change the last digit. So it'll be a little easier. Now this is what we'll copy and paste over and over. So that's 80. This will be 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 9, 90. 1. What did we say? 90, 92. Yeah. So we need one more. Okay. Now I'm just going to go back in and um, edit these. So 80. This will become 1981. This this will become 1982, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, and then we already did 90. Then we'll do 91, and then 92. And so that's it. Our roster file is already done. Um, because it's just two players in different seasons, it's even faster than normal. But I just want to demonstrate how quickly you can do that. Now I'm just going to save this as Kitties and Steebs. So now I've saved that as a TXT file, and I use Notepad to do this. I'm sure you can do it in any word processing software as well. You just have to save it as a TXT file. So now we're ready to go into the game. Here's a checklist I use for how to do these. Right, and the first step is build your roster, because I find it's helpful to have that text file already done, and we finish that. Then we'll go ahead and start the season in OOTP, and then we'll use this list to import our players, and we'll make any edits we need to do. There are a few settings adjustments I recommend, and those are the things I think that the settings are what really improved over the last week or so, as we learned how to do this better. And then we'll run the simulation, and you'll see how quickly we can do a season with no interruptions from the AI, but also no shenanigans from the AI, like messing with the rosters and stuff. If you don't do the settings right, the AI will interrupt the sim every few days with trade requests or um, I guess they're called like personal messages in your inbox to you as the manager, and so it eliminates all that. So with that said, let's go ahead and fire up the game. And I'll switch to that screen. And this is another improvement that we made yesterday. Um, this version, the way I'm grabbing it now into OBS, you should see all the pop-up screens, which wasn't happening before. So we're going to create a new game. It'll be a new historical game. For now, I'm bringing all the teams into 2023 because it's the last full season, historical season in the database. It might be interesting to do some of this in 2024 too, but I like the fact that 2023 is a completed season in the database. Okay, we are going to. So this is the how to do it slide. I also have one that helps with um, preventing problems. Where is that? Here it is. And one of the big problems is prevented by turning off real historic transactions. If you don't do this, our team will end up getting players added that the actual team we take over will have added during 2023. And we don't want anyone to be added to our roster of Kitties and Steebs. So we're going to make sure this is off. I think this defaulting to being off might be new because otherwise I don't think I would have worried about it so much in the past. But so that's good. I think it's better that it be off and you have to turn that on, like seek it out and turn it on if you want to. And we're going to turn off any expansion, even though we're doing a 1 year sim. Okay, that's it. It's gonna while it fires up. I'll talk about you want to turn injuries off because we're just going to go with this 26-man roster. We're not going to bring any reserves. If someone were to get hurt, it would be a big problem for the sim because we wouldn't have enough players to finish the season effectively. Um, and then the all-star popularity, I turn that off because the default is, I think, high. And what that's saying is the player's popularity has a big influence on whether they get voted to the all-star game. Anyone you bring in across time into import into a sim will have zero popularity or they will not be known. And so there's no way they'll make the All Star team, even if they're killing it by mid-season. So I turn that off so that the All Star voting is based mostly on performance. And then there's some manager and mailbox settings that I'll walk you through after we get everything set up. But the first three are what you need to do like as you're setting it up. All right, so we'll call this Kitties and Steebs. Oh, I can't do an ampersand. So Kitties and Steebs in the 2023 season. Okay, and I'll be in commissioner mode so I can make changes and I cannot be fired. And then what we've been doing in all these sims, and credit to the Nolan Network podcast, he was one who suggested this, is I was wondering what team should we take over to minimize the impact on the season. And he made the amazing suggestion of the Oakland A's, which I like for so many reasons, mostly because if they want out of Oakland so bad, we're just going to take them out of existence and just replace them with our rosters. So we've all the rosters we've done so far, like the all-time great rookies team, the Father's Day Fathers and Sons team, they've all taken over the Oakland A's and we've renamed them and rebranded them and have taken over their spot in the American League West. Um, and since I'm in on the West Coast, that feels fine too. That's like I think that's fitting. And I'll just give you a preview of what we're going to do once the game is ready. Is here's very specifically how we're going to report. So preparing the destination basically means clearing out the roster and renaming the team so that the abbreviation is FTM, since that's what we used in that text file. And then we'll go into the free agent page to actually do the import. And these last three steps are the actual import process. And now that you can see my pop-up menus, um, you'll be able to see all of that better than you would have in the past because you would have heard me talking about it, but I didn't realize you weren't seeing the pop-up menus. So Max LP says, as a Mariners fan, you can always delete the A's. Yep. Okay, here we go. The game's ready. Here we go with our takeover of the Oakland Athletics. And frankly, the way they've treated their fans too, like I have no problem taking over them and give their fans something exciting to root for, like Josh Gibson appearing in 2023. So yeah, well, player creation and importing takes place from the free agency page. So we're going to go there. There's a pull down menu I'll show you that has actions and then import historical players. Under actions, also create players, which I use a lot as well. And then you want to choose the correct database, which is historical underscore database. And then either enter your players one at a time or upload that file we just prepared. And you saw how quickly I did it. It was like a matter of minutes. Um, and when you actually import players one at a time, if you choose to do that way, the processing time it seems to take is almost as long as it takes to do the entire text file and pull down 26 players. So it's also time consuming. So I think that's another reason in favor of using this text file. Even if it's a one-time sim, the processing time and it's just so much faster. I would still do a text file even if I was just using a roster once. And as it stands, I now have these text files of all these rosters we've used. Anytime we want to retry a sim or do it in a different year, I've got the text file so we can do it super fast. And so the reason I prepared all these checklists and stuff is so that anyone who wants to do this on their own can kind of just follow along, watch like check out the VODs. I'm gonna export all of them to YouTube, since mine will disappear from Twitch after like 1 or 2 weeks. You'll always be able to find them on YouTube. And then another reason to keep this Kitties and Steves one is if we decide to want to take a different approach and we don't want to have just 12 kitties and 14 Steves because that 12-14 doesn't work as well as the 14-12, it'll be easy enough to just change it in the text file. We just have to find, like decide what change to make in the years. And then I usually ask when I start the sim for predictions. So start thinking about how many games you think a team of all Katie Bransfields and all Dave Steves can win in the 2023 season. I will say the father-son team outdid everyone's expectations. I think the predictions were anywhere from like 93 to 103 wins, and they won 124 games. Okay, so the game's ready. The first thing we're going to do is make sure our players have a home to go to. So I'm going to go into game settings and league settings and league structure. There are other ways you can do this, but I prefer to do it from here. So we're going to replace Oakland with franchise and athletics with time machine. And this is the most important thing. I could have left it as Oakland Athletics. It would have been confusing, but this has to be that three-letter abbreviation we used in our text file, which for us was FTM for franchise time machine. Okay, so that's done. The other good thing about doing it this way is since we're not deleting or adding a team, the game engine doesn't detect any change to the structure of the league. Because if it had, even if we netted out the same number of teams just by deleting or adding teams, it would force the creation of a new schedule. This way we can use the historic schedule from 2023. So like many things in OOTP, when you change something, you won't see it reflected until you make some sort of move. So up here, you still see it says Oak, OAK for Oakland. That'll change once we do some sort of game action. So we have to go into here anyway. So let's go to um, modify colors and uniforms. So once we switch screens, the change should go through. So let's back out and see. Yeah, now you see it says FTM for franchise time machine. And if you go to the team home screen, the team name is now changed. Instead of Oakland Athletics, it says franchise time machine. And the logo is still there. So just to avoid confusion, we're going to go ahead and change that out too. And if you haven't done this, it's pretty fun. I do this also with all my um, perfect uh, perfect teams. Sorry, I was getting confused by saying teams. But perfect teams. I have logos for all of them. So you just save your logo into this file path. I use Steam. If you don't use Steam, yours will be different, but you can find it from the game and just navigate through it. And then just save your files in here and just remember what you named them. And so now this, you probably saw it here change on the hat too, on the cap. So that's our new team logo. So now the name's been updated, the abbreviation's been updated, and the logo's been updated. So that'll help avoid any confusion. Yes, I think we're ready to import. So we'll go to our roster. We're just going to delete everybody. This is especially satisfying if it's a team you don't like. You just get to zap them all. Okay, so the prepare the destination part's done. Okay, so oh, while we're messing around here, let's go ahead and do the other things too. So going back to the checklist, right? Historic transactions are off is set. So we're going to make sure we turn off injuries and change the importance of the popularity in the All-Star game. So injuries are here under players and team. We just uncheck this box for enable injuries. So now it'll play like perfect team where no one can get hurt. It applies to our team and all the other teams as well. And then under league settings and options is where the All-Star game rules are. So here you'll see influence of popularity in All-Star vote is high. I'm going to put it to none. And another thing I like to do is I don't let pitchers win the MVP since they already have the Cy Young Award, just so I get a better look at like what batters the AI thinks have the best seasons. Okay, I think we're ready to import. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to do. I don't think so. So importing happens in the free agency screen. So you just go to sign a free agent. We're not going to sign anyone, but we're going to go to that screen. And okay, now I'm keeping an eye on OBS to make sure the pop-up window is showing up in what you see. So under here, over here under actions, create fictional players, import historical players. That's what we're going to do. Import historical players. Okay, so now you'll see this pop up, which I apologize, it was apparently not showing up in previous streams um, because of the settings I had. So thanks to Cheeky for helping me figure that out. But historical databases is we want to use. Now here, the top of this page is where you can type in their player ID, type in their season year, and then click import. And they'll import players one at a time. But as you'll see, it takes some time to do an import, even if it's one player. So we're going to click here to select file. Here's the Kitties and Steebs file we created. We'll hit OK. Now it's going to pull all 26 players. In about the same time we would take to pull in one player manually added. So we just hit import player, and it's going to chew on it for a little while. And then before we mess with the lineups and stuff, the other thing we'll do is the do not disturb mode. We're actually not going to use do not disturb mode. That's part of the problem. That's what's causing the problems. But we've got a workaround for that. And then we're going to adjust the mailbox. That's more of a convenience thing. It's not really necessary, but I like to do it too. Make sure it's easy to find the all-star voting results and the postseason awards. I access those through the inbox. Okay, so you can imagine like it would be doing this for, well, the first import always takes longer because I think it's setting up the databases and stuff. But it still takes like a somewhat significant amount of time to do each import. And so you cut that by 1/25th by just doing it one time. I don't know if everyone's just lurking or no one wants to guess, but I am curious to hear everyone's guesses on the number of wins this team's going to get. I Most of our sims are coming over 100 games with 100 wins, but that's because we're pulling in like some of the best players of all time. I wouldn't be surprised if this team only wins like 70 some games because you're gonna have so many kitties playing out of position. Um, Although I don't know, the pitching staff's gonna be great, so maybe it'll be better than I think. I guess it also matters to the extent with which I play with editor to make kitty work better in certain positions. But I really do think the only position I'm going to mess with is catcher. With everything else, like I'm fine with his shortstop ability being based on his other infield attributes because he plays infield. I'm fine with that. Again, if his outfield ratings are too close to zero, he'll never be able to play outfield, even if he plays the whole season there. So we may have to, put in a few numbers for his outfield too. But those are the only, and we'll make minimal adjustments. So he'll never be a great outfielder, even if he plays the whole season there or plays multiple seasons there. But I mean, we need him to be at least passable for the season. And frankly, I think, most major leaguers are good enough football players where you should be able to stick them in like right or left field and have them at least make some plays. Okay, so you'll see here it says the historical player import succeeded 26 players imported. So that's our first check is did it import 26 players? That means we didn't make any like typo errors in setting up the text file. So let's just take a peek. We'll come back to this, but I just want to take a look and see. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of Dave Steebs and there's a whole bunch of Kitty Bransfield. And here's his peak season, Kitty's peak season. You can see here. And if you go in editor, here's that historical ID. This is the other place you can get it. But also, this is his 1908 year. So, from a ratings perspective, it looks like 1908 was peak Kitty Bransfield. And I'm also kind of curious to see what year it thinks is peak Steeb. So it looks like two of these have 4 stars, which to me is shocking because when you look at his stats, and granted, I look at modern stats. These are stats that even Bill James didn't necessarily look at the time, but like things like WHIP, Bill James did look at, and you know he was more than a 4 star pitcher. I'm sorry, like some of these seasons should have been 5 star seasons. So it looks like one of his peak seasons is 84, and the other 4 star season is 90. So 90 and 84 are his two peak seasons. And actually, since I'm in here, here's what I like to do when I do this. I've done this a bunch. Is I like to put in parentheses the year of the season this specific Dave Steve represents. So we'll do this for all of them. But and you have to most fields you don't have to enter, but for the names you have to enter. It won't put it into the system. So that's now Dave Steve 1990. So now when we go back, now you can see it updated up here. And when you go to the roster, there should be a Dave Steve 1990. There he is. All right, so we'll do that with every Kitty and Dave, so that or Steve, so we can see like which version are we talking about. But before we do that, I just wanted to go finish off this checklist. We're going to do the do not disturb and the mailbox. So the do not disturb. This is under manager options, and this is important so that it doesn't. So you can run a month, for example, really quickly without having it stop all the time. I used to use this do not disturb, but one of the things it says in the fine print is it will set the lineups, depth charts, and pitching staff, which we don't want it to do. If you look on the right here, everything's set for human control. But if you check do not disturb, it'll ignore what you set for human control. But instead, the workaround is we can uncheck all these exit autoplay options. So now it will not exit autoplay. The only thing I might leave checked if you're going to do a season sim with injuries on is I would leave this when a player is injured box checked, because that way you can decide how you want to deal with that injury. If you uncheck it, the sim will keep flying by and you'll have an injury up a spot and not being productive. Okay, so now we're ready for do not disturb. And then the only other thing I like to do in the mailbox is um, try to make sure that we get the all-star notifications and the award notifications at the end of the season. So I all the news and I uncheck everything except major awards and general league news. All right, so now we're ready to set lineups, but before that, because it'll be lineups like this because we're not going to know which Dave Steve is which, so we might as well go in and start playing with editor. So this version, you look right here, this is a 1992 Steve. So we'll just do 1992. And then if you use up and down arrow, you can just go to the next Dave Steve. So this is, I know it's a different one because the uniform number is different and the historical year is 1991. So we're just going to rename this one 1991. Hit enter to make sure it goes through and use the down arrow. Okay, this is 1989. The 1989 Dave Steve. Now, you don't have to do this, but the problem is if you don't, when you run your sim, you won't have any idea which Dave Steve is doing what. And if you don't care, that's fine. But I am interested in knowing which version did what, and also to see which version the AI puts in different positions. Okay, this one is 1987. I was a Mets fan. I didn't really care about many AL teams, but I always really liked the Toronto Blue Jays of the mid and late 80s. I thought they were super fun to watch. I thought they had really great players. I was a huge Tom Hankey fan. I was a big Dave Steve, Jimmy Key fan. Mostly from Stratomatic. They just had like fun cars that were good, and the whole roster was fun to play with. Um, and so I'm probably going to do something like I did with the '86 Mets, and maybe take one of those mid '80s Blue Jays teams and send them back in time, see how they do. So this is a 1985 Dave Steve. Oh wait, do we? Okay. Uh, here we go. I thought I'd run out of Dave Steves, but this one's 1984. This one is 1983. This one's 1982. And this is 1981. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend. There's a documentary I saw on YouTube on Dave Steve. I had no idea that he was a converted outfielder, and they taught him a slider like the day they were converting him, and he ended up having one of the best sliders in the game. And it's a pitch he learned the day they converted him into a pitcher, and he went on to great success as a pitcher after basically picking it up in college. Okay, I think that might be all of them. So let's just go back to the pitching staff here. Oh, we missed one. The one at the very top here, you can see, it still does not have a year. So this is. Oh no, wait, it does. Why is this happening? That's weird. Okay, let me go to the lineup and come back and let's see if it changed anything. Okay, so is this one mislabeled? 1979? No, that's right, 1979. So then who is this Dave Steve? Oh, 1992. Okay, that's weird. Okay, now we should have, yeah, now we have a year for everyone. So now when we have the bench coach make the pitching staff, we can see who went where. If we hadn't done this, this would all just be Dave Steves, and we'd be like, okay, great. Dave Steve is in the rotation. Dave Steve is closing. Dave Steve is the setup man. But now you can see it's the 84 Dave Steve, which is the number one starter, followed by the 90, the 83, the 80, and the 81. The AI has chosen the 85 Steve to be the closer. 88 is the setup man. And then 90, 82, 89, and 87 as the middle relief. And I guess it thinks less of these other years 92, 86, 79, 91. I'm not surprised at the bookend seasons because those are partial seasons or injury seasons. I'm kind of curious about this 86 season, why it's in long relief with avoid high leverage. So let me just go to baseball reference real quick and look at that 86 season. So in 86, Dave Steeb. Oh, yeah, okay. He went 7 and 12, 4.74 ERA, 1.590 whip. So this is a very subpar season from, and I believe he was pitching through injuries that season. So now I understand why there's a mid 80s season in there because when you look at the rest of the 80s, I mean, he was dominant. Um, so, okay, that makes sense then. All right, so AI actually doing some stuff that makes sense. I like it. All right, now let's go over to the lineup side, and we'll do the same treatment for these kitties. Let's just give him some years. Okay, this kitty is 1911. Oh, and you know, and the fact that we have 26 players that came through, that means it did pull that 1898 season, which was only like 9 at bats, and was a few years before it seemed like he got called up for full major league play. So I'll be curious to see what that season looks like and where the AI puts it. 1910, 1909. I also like that this roster is a guy mostly from the 1900s and a guy mostly from the 1980s, or versions of those guys. Okay, this says 1908 too. What is going on? Oh, this is 1909. I misread it. Okay, I'm glad I caught that. So this is the 1908. Okay, 1907, 1906. So one downside is, I'm doing all this. If we ever wanted to use this roster again, it seems like unfortunately I would have to do all the entering into the years and stuff again because there doesn't seem to be a way to just export one team once it's in the game and edited. You can use that text file to import historic versions of players, but if you modify them and want to save those modifications, so far I haven't been able to find a way to do that with just one team. You can do the entire league, but you're not going to want to then import that entire league into a different year if you want to do this same thing in a different environment. But I'm going to hit the forums and maybe ask around and see if there's some way to do it. I asked previously as part of the all rookie simulation, and no one seemed to know of a way to do it. Because what I want to do was, it took a bit of work to I had to correct the Josh Gibson and Jackie Robinson cards. For some reason, it was importing like a really weakened version of those two players. Um, and I think it had something to do with the fact that it was Negro League stats, and they hadn't been in OOTP 25 when it came out. Negro League stats had not been merged with Major League stats yet, and so um, I was fine doing the corrections. But what I don't want to do is have to make those corrections every time I want to use those players. And so I was hoping to find a way where I can make the changes, then export the updated versions of those players, and not have to do it again every time. Okay, this is 1901. Oh, this is that 1898 season. Okay, so he had 9 at-bats this season. I want to see what his ratings look like. Okay, yeah, he's very much uh, unfulfilled potential here. You can see the red and orange were his actual, and his potentials are way out here. So, yeah, we're looking at like a very raw rookie, it looks like. Okay, I have to make sure that was the last one. It seemed like it was. So now if we go back to the roster screen, the lineup screen. Oh, no, somehow I missed a couple. It's already assigning one as a catcher, though. That's interesting. That's the 1891 one. He has no catcher ratings. Maybe let's go under within editor. If you go under batting ratings, you can see their fielding ratings too. He has no catcher ratings, so I don't know why it's listing him as catcher. Um, but we are going to have to do some editing here because he has zeros for catcher. That's not going to work in a sim. Even if we just put like 20s or 50s, you have to put something there to make him a passable catcher. And then I might just leave these outfield ratings as is. Like if he wasn't going to be a good outfielder, but again, I go back to the theory of most major leaguers, if they're good enough to make it to the majors with a little bit of time and training, I've got to think they could be like passable outfielders, at least more than a 4 range, but maybe not. Okay, so let's go back to this roster and just specifically open up these two versions of Kitty that did not get years. Okay, this one is the 1907 version. Okay. And then this one, this is the 1910 version. Okay, I'm going to remember 1907 and 1910 because I just want to make sure we don't have doubles of these for some reason. Nope, 1907, 1910, no doubles, looking good. Now, if we do assign the lineups and depth charts, now we can see which kitty is going where. And I really want to see where that 1898 kitty ends up going. Okay, usually this does not happen so in perfect teams this happens all the time because if the player's not um, assigned or have a qualification for a position, perfect team won't let you play them there. In base game, you can play anyone anywhere; they'll just be terrible. Over time, they'll gain experience. So fielding in base game comes from these fielding attributes and then experience. So here's the problem: his ratings are so low. You can see here where it says 0/0. That's the current skill at that position based on the current experience, and then the potential skill at that position based on um, experience. So what this is saying is, for example, a catcher, you can have maxed out experience at 200, he'll still be a 0 catcher. So here's what I'll do. I don't want any attribute that exceeds what he has as a first baseman. So no range above 40, no error above 71, no arm above 60. And so I think we'll have to do this for every kitty because I do want to give the AI the potential of putting each of these kitties in a different position. So we'll just start at the beginning. And Whoa. This okay, this kitty must have come up as a catcher. In 1899, he has catcher ratings. That's amazing. Okay, this comes up sometimes when I'm dealing like really good players too. If a player at some point in their career demonstrates that they can play a position well, I don't mind letting them play it poorly in a different year. So if he had these are pretty high catcher ratings: 94 blocking, 107 framing, 105 arm. Because of this, for all the other years, I'm going to be okay putting 50s across the board. So 50 blocking, 50 framing, 50 arm. That means even if with max experience, he'll only be like a 40 catcher, but at least he could be a catcher. Now, I'm going to arrow up and down to see like, does he have any outfield ratings at any point in his career? You can see in the top right here, right? I'm looking at these outfield ratings as I go through, and they're all pretty low. And they're so low that you can see the max potential outfield rating is still 0. So that's going to be a problem. So I want to play with these a little bit. Again, I don't want to exceed what he ever did in the infield. So if I do if I do 25, 25, 25, okay, I'm looking down here to see if it changes the potential, and it doesn't. So I'm gonna have to go a little bit higher. 40, 40. Okay, we're finally starting to see some movement. You can see here the max left field has gone to 16, but there's still nothing in center field or right field. So we're gonna have to go a little bit higher still. Oh shoot. Well, what was that number? I just changed it. And I don't know what of a 49. Okay. Okay, I'm still not getting any center field here, so I think we're gonna have to keep going a little bit higher, which I don't love, but okay, now we're finally seeing some right field, but still no center field. This is monkeying with the ratings. Okay, you know what? It's the outfield range that seems to matter the most. So how high do I have to go before it'll register some sort of potential in center field? Okay, I have to go all the way to 100, which I don't like. But it looks like the AI won't put him there if it's 0. So I'm trying to get, okay, at a range of 90, the maximum center field rating is a 7. It's already higher than I want to go, so I'm going to leave it at that. And these, it doesn't seem like it matters much at all. It matters a little bit. So I'm going to leave those at 50s because we're going to have to go so high there. Um, and then the catcher ratings, I would like to just go 50s if I can. Okay, that gives you a catcher rating of 14. So for all the seasons, we're just going to go 50, 50, 50 at catcher, 90, 50, 50 in the outfield. That way, we'll at least have um, someone who can stand in center field and someone who can sit behind the plate. So we're just going to have to do that for every version of Kitty. So it's going to be a little tedious, but you're seeing how to use editor. I hope this is helpful. So now the AI can put them in these positions, um, and over time, over the course of the season, their experience will increase, so their rating will increase. Another thing I'm noticing is we're not going to have a shortstop. All these. Well, let's go through and do this. And if none of the versions of Kitty has a shortstop number above 0, we're gonna have to play with infield range too, which I really didn't want to have to do, but it's going to be necessary to make the sim work. Yeah, still not getting any shortstop rating. Oops. Yeah, still haven't seen a shortstop rating come up. D Block, you're in round 4 of a PD Weekly with a 3-round robin in round 1, and you're 17-0. Whoa. Wow, that's awesome, man. Keep us posted on that one. If you happen to have the 6L up, let me know if I'm still alive in that if you don't mind. Still no shortstop rating. I'm a little worried I'm gonna have to monkey around with more of this data than I wanted to. Because now we're getting away from just like the idea of just sticking a bunch of kitties on one team and a bunch of kitties in the field and a bunch of Steves in the pitching staff. But if we have to do it to get the engine to work at all, I guess we got to do it. It's better than having no sim. Oh shit! I did not mean to change that one. I don't know what it was. When you fat finger something in the editor screen, it can be really bad. Because there's no undo button, which I think would be a great quality of life add, but I doubt it would ever happen because I don't think many players are fiddling around with the editor screen. So it would be for a small audience. Ooh, I'm up 3-2 in the quarterfinal. All right, thanks for the update, D Block. Nice. Hercules, well, oh, you're here. Awesome. You're out in round 2, huh? That's a bummer. Okay, and here's his catching year. It's so good I have a legit catcher here. Okay, but the problem is I have no shortstop. Oh no, here's one. In one season, he had enough infield ratings, but if we just have one shortstop, that is not going to be enough. We need a backup. So let's go back to the year. This is the year he had it. It was his top infield range. Okay, that's interesting. So here in his 1904 year, he had an infield range of 82, which seems to have, and a turn double play rating of 97, which seemed to help him get to a max shortstop rating of 16. Um, in this other year, he had an infield range of 92 and a turn double play rating of 97, yet his max shortstop rating is 0. So what else is different? Okay, his infield error was better. So let's take this up to 50. Okay, all right. So with that I'm fine with. With minimal additional editing, we now have 2 shortstop seasons. So, um, 2 minutes till the next sim. I'll wait to see if you get in the semis. Oh yeah, thanks, D Block. I appreciate that. Laptop is also up 3-2 in his quarterfinal. Ooh, would we be on the same side of the bracket, D Block? Laptop and I. So the easiest way to check is you just have it do the roster again and then go to depth chart. Okay, it's still not giving us a backup shortstop. No, we can only meet in the final. Okay. So what I think is happening in then is the other shortstop season is having to start somewhere else. So let's go see about that. So we may have to add a third. Okay, so this is one of the seasons where he's a shortstop eligible. In 1904. Okay. I guess you can only arrow down up and down if you're in the roster or the batting. lineup page. Okay, so here's 1904. He's got a max 16, and then again in '06. But I bet one of them is having to start at second base. So this year in between, again, his infield ratings are pretty high for him. So I'm going to take this infield range up to 75. Or actually, it was 90 in the other year, so let's go to 80. Okay, now we have three shortstop eligible seasons. Hopefully that's enough. I don't want to monkey around with this more than we have to. So let's make the lineups again. Check the depth chart. Okay, we still don't have a backup shortstop. That's concerning. Hmm. I don't want to have to make a fourth player shortstop eligible, but we might have to. You know, 4, 5, 6. Okay, here's another year where his range is on the high side. So let's take this up to 80. This is his 1910 season. Okay, he's now shortstop eligible here too. So let's see if that helps. Update the lineups. All right, come on, AI. Why are you not giving me? I guess it's having to plug so many infield holes that no one can no one can back up. All right, I don't want to do this, but we're gonna have to mess around with like yet one more season somewhere. Okay, this is a 73. I bet if I take this to 80, which is a pretty minor change. Okay, this guy's now shortstop eligible too. Okay, if this doesn't do it, I don't know what. There we go. We have backups everywhere. Just like with a perfect team draft. This is what you want to see. You want to make sure you have backups everywhere, which we do. Versus lefty and versus righty. But if you want to actually look at the lineups, I prefer this screen. So you can see who's starting where. Which Where's peak kitty? Here it is. All right, peak kitty is 1908 kitty and batting third. Batting third versus righties and batting third versus lefties. All right, I think we are ready now to sim. Let me save this. Oh, thanks for the update, G-Block. Both Laptop and I are in the semis of the 6L, but on opposite sides. So potential to meet in the championship. Oh, that also means I've got a choice pack now. I play the Motown Cubbies of Savtip. That's a team I'm not familiar with. I know all the teams that usually kick my butt, and that's not one of them yet. I'm not saying that doesn't mean they'll kick my butt. They won't kick my butt, but at least it's not Marshall Mice or Mill Basin Yankees or who's the other one that usually destroys me? But those two definitely dismantle me on a regular basis. Oh, McCadcar. Yeah, right. We may have to add Motown Cubbies to the list of teams that dismantle. We'll see. Minimum gold choice pack now. That's right. I'm very excited about that. Okay, it's saved. We're gonna sim the first game with the scores off, or the it's called scores off, right? What is it called? Hide scores. And then we'll watch the first game, maybe the first two games, and then we'll speed sim the season. All right. So any predictions? No predictions? How many wins this team's gonna get in 2023? Lap will play either McCadcar or Lava in the semis. Both they're tied at 3. Well, the good thing for him is they'll at least be tired. That might give him a fighting chance. 85 wins from Gumbercules. I'm going with 72. Here, I'm going to add mine to the chat so that we can look back and see who said what. Okay. Oh, you know what? It did all the season setup stuff, so I'm going to save it now. That way, if I reopen the save, it doesn't have to do that again. You have D-Block, you have no idea. Come on, you can still make a guess though. Sub 500. I kind of know what you mean though. Like with the Steves and the pitching staff, I feel like yeah, maybe they can hit 80, but with all the kitties in the field, I'm thinking like they might not even win 50. All right, here's the game. We have hide scores on, so we'll go ahead and quick play. It's Shohei Ohtani versus the 1984 Dave Stieb. All right, and we will watch highlights. So I'll apologize in advance. I don't have any of the camera setups done. Oh, and my game just crashed. Good thing we saved it. All right. Sorry, bear with me. I'm going to reopen it. Good thing I just saved it. And I saved it after it did all the season setup stuff. 76 from D Block. I think that's a solid. I think all these guesses are definitely defensible. 80, 85, 72, 76. They're all seem like in the realm of possibility. Okay, so where is that Kitties and Steves? All right. Okay, we're in good shape still, I think. Let's do a quick play. Yeah, so I don't have any of the camera stuff set up. I'm not an announcer like Dr. Dynastic. Um, and my uh computer is super slow, so the um animation will be super choppy. But we can have fun watching the games together. So, oh, look at all those kitties in the field. This is great. I'm going to screenshot this, send it to Lap. Look at all those kitties in the field. We got the 1904 kitty at shortstop and the 1905 kitty at second. And behind the plate, we've got that 1898 rookie kitty who had 9 at bats, I think. And I'm curious to see how this 1902 kitty does in the outfield because um, I guess any of them will be as good as any of the others because I set all their outfield ratings to be the same. All right. So we're facing Dave Steve 84 is. Oh, we're already in the third inning. Top of the third, no outs, one strike, 0-1 count to David Fletcher. And there you go with the choppy display. That's extra bases to the wall in center field. Okay, man on second for Brandon Drury. Okay, it is now first and third with no outs, 0-2 count. Oh, no double play? A double play. So 1 run scores, but that goes a long way to minimize the damage. Okay, so we got out of that inning just giving up 1 run, but we're now in the top of the fourth, and the Angels are up again. 84 Dave Steve is still in the game. Ooh, that's a deep shot to left center field. That looks like it's gone. Yep, and the Angels are already up 2-0. Okay, well, the good news is we've advanced to the bottom of the seventh. The bad news is we're still down 2-0, but we haven't given up any more runs. I'll be curious to see if the 84 Steve is still in the game. And this is the number three hitter, the '08 peak Kitty Bransfield up at bat. And that's in for a base hit to center field. And this is Kitty. Oh, wait, this might be a problem. Why do I have two 1908 kitties? Okay, I'm going to exit this game and fix this. Um, we're going to go back to let's go back to the save. I have two '08 kitties in there. I'm hoping I just typed it wrong and I did. I know we didn't import two '08 kitties, so I'm hoping it's just a typo. Oh, did it save the game after the loss? Okay, we lost 9-0. The Steves in the bullpen apparently did not do a good job, but okay. We have one loss in, but I'm going to try to fix things now. Okay, why do we have two '08 kitties? Because this one should say '09. Okay. So good thing is it was just a typo. And we didn't have two '08 kitties. But now I'm worried that we're gonna have two '09s. I don't think we do. Okay, that should fix it. Okay. So let me just save it again. We are one game in the season now. That game is in the books, and we got crushed. So the lower guesses are looking a little bit better. Well, let's sim another. Let's do highlights for another game. This time I won't have to end it prematurely to try to fix something. So we'll go to scores. And so performance of the day was the 84 Dave Steve, 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned, 10 strikeouts in 6 innings. So those 9 runs, 7 of them were given up by the bullpen. Then Mike Trout and Brandon Drury were the other two top players for the Angels. All right, so let's just go to the next day. And we are not playing, so we'll sim one more day. And there's our game. It's Reed Detmers against the 1990 Dave Stieb. Let's hide scores. Okay, and we'll quick play the game. And check out the highlight reel. All right. Come on, 1990 Dave Stieb. 1 out and 1-1 count to Otani, and that is gone. 430 feet off the 1990 Dave Stieb. All right, so we're at the bottom of the first. We've got one kitty on and one kitty at bat. And that's going to be a double play. All right, well, 2 outs. So we've got another kitty on first again with another kitty at bat. And this is a little better outcome. It looks like it has the distance, and it is gone. Tied at 2. 405 feet for the 1909 kitty. All right, top of the second. 1 out, 2-1 count to Taylor Ward. Let's see if the 1990 Dave Steve can settle down. Nope. Looks like another home run. Man, you would think more people would be in the stands to see this historic Kitties and Steve game. But I guess they're still bitter that the team is leaving. Not many people in the stands. And that's trouble down the line. Extra bases for sure. Maybe a triple. There he goes, heading to third. Here's the throw. No way. He's safe. All right. Well, they only got 1 run that inning. We're down bottom of the fourth. We're down 3-2. And it's the 1902 Kitty in the 7 hole up at bat with 2 outs. Oh, and he's got a little bit of pop. He goes yard. So 3-3, 371 feet on that one. That was a 1902 kitty playing center field. Yeah, so game tied, top of the sixth. The 87 Steve is now in from the bullpen. Hopefully the pen can pitch a little bit better than they did in game one. First, runner on first for Taylor Ward. And he walks him. So first and second with one out for Chad Wallach. Does anyone happen to know, is Chad Wallach related to Tim Wallach of the Expos? And that's popped up to the catcher. And there's two down, top of the sixth, 3-0 count to David Fletcher. Runners on first and second. And he walks. Bases are loaded. The 87 Dave Steve is still in there. Bases loaded with two outs. And that's going to be trouble. Base hit to center field. Should score two. It's cut off by Kitty. So 2 runs score. Son of Tim. Awesome. I always like Tim Wallach, even though he was in the NL East. And another base hit. This is following the pattern of the last game where the bullpen's really letting us down. Those other Dave Steves in the pen have not been carrying their weight. He definitely had more than 5 good seasons, though, so we should have some good Steves in the bullpen, but beyond just the rotation. But walking in a runner, 4 runs in that inning. We've gotten one back here, down 7-4 in the bottom of the sixth with two out, runner on first, and a 2-2 count. And it looks like that's going to drop in center field for a base hit. Kitty's running for third. And he'll be in there standing. First and third for the nine-hole hitter, Kitty 04. And he strikes out. All right, top of the eighth now. The 89 Steve is now in the game. Down 3. And looks like they might be adding some insurance runs here. With 2 out, there's going to be an extra base hit. Runner on second. First and second now. And that is gone. Way gone at 439 feet. This Steve bullpen is terrible. I'm surprised. All right, well, this is when you know the AI has given up. When the highlight jumps to the last inning, 2 outs. That means the highlight's about to end. And Kitty 04, who struck out with runners on last time, grounds out to end the game. All right, the bullpen is definitely the weakness of this team. I'm going to pull up BREF real quick because I want to see. Okay, you would assume that the 5 best Steve seasons are going to be in the rotation. But there are plenty of seasons here where he had either all-star appearances or Cy Young votes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 8 of them. So there are at least 3 good Steves in the bullpen. I don't know why we're getting crushed in the pen, but it is happening. All right, let's go to the standing screen and we'll go ahead and sim a month. My guess of 72 is looking pretty good right now. That's a low guess. Yeah, we're bouncing around the basement of the AL West. It's still early though, but we're already 5 games behind, 7 games behind, 8 games behind. Hercules wants to change his 85 to 58. Well, we had Kitty 09 put in a Player of the Week performance in our first achievement, and we are at 13-16, 5.5 games out already of the Seattle Mariners. So at least we're behind the Mariners. That's good. Mariners in first place. I adopted them as my American League team when I moved to the Pacific Northwest. So I grew up a Mets fan, and I figured, oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, guys. I did not change my screen. Apologies. Um, as you heard, though, you didn't miss much. We're kind of stuck in the basement here of the AL West. We're even 3.5 games out of this, getting out of the cellar, too. So it's not looking good so far. All right, let's do the next month, this time with the screen on. Well, we haven't hit 10 games behind yet. Oh, there we go. I jinxed it. Now we're 14, 15 games behind, 16 games behind. Kitty09, who also got the player of the week previously, had a 7 game extra base hit streak. Okay, so we are at 22 and 36 for a 379 win percentage. We are not the worst team in the majors, though. The Colorado Rockies are worse than us right now. And yeah, we're already 15 and a half games out of first place. That is, though, behind a Astros team which has one of the best records in the majors. So that's making our games behind look worse. All right, we will go ahead and sim to the announcement of the All-Star teams. We're doing so poorly, though. I won't be surprised if we get shut out of the All-Star game, but we'll see what happens here. 20 games behind. All right, this time it's the '08 Kitty who had a 9 game run streak. We are 36 and 55 for a sub 400 win percentage. But our win percentage is still better than those of the White Sox, the Nationals, and the Rockies. So while we're at the bottom of the AL West, we are not at the bottom of the majors. Okay, we have to sim one more day. Well, let's just check out the All Star announcements here. So AL fan voting. I'll be surprised if we have anyone in here, just based on how our season's going. And okay, I think this is the first sim we've done where our team has no one in the All Star voting email. So let me copy that and save it. Okay, so we're shut out of the All Star voting, but let's see who made the team, managers' choices. Let's see if we got anyone in that way. Okay, so the 1979 Dave Steve got into with a 0-1 record, 2.61 ERA. I guess this is out of the pen, but a 1.66 WHIP. And then no kitties. Did any kitties make it? Yeah, no kitties made it. Well, let's take a quick look and see what's going on with the kitties. All right, sorted by OPS. Our highest OPS is 840 from the 1908 kitty, which is the peak kitty. 302 average, 12 home runs, 40 RBI. That's like a decent halfway All Star break stat line, but clearly not good enough to. And it's a tough position, right? That kitty's playing first base, so there's probably a bunch of real good slash lines to compete against there. All right, so let me go ahead and save that All Star Selections email. All right, let's sim the All Star game and then the rest of the season. So this took us to the day that teams were announced. We'll go to the home run challenge. We have no one in this home run challenge. Usually we have a team in here, but we have a player in here, but not this time. So let's just finish the competition since we have no one in here. Marcelo Zuna wins at 7-6. This is pretty weak performances. Although some of the first round performances were pretty good. Um, so we're not in it. It did not screenshot. Oh, there. Okay, it did. Okay. All right. Let's go back to the standings page and let's sim out this. Oh wait, no. Let's do the whole the All Star game. See if our Steve got into the game. We don't have to hide scores now. We'll just quick play the game. The AL wins 7-6 on a walk-off run in the bottom of the ninth. Let's check the box score and see. Look at that win percentage graph. Quite a comeback by the American League. All right, we have no batters on this team, so we should just go right to the pitchers. And Dave Steve did not even get to pitch. So the AL won the All-Star game, but our player did not get to pitch. All right, so we'll go back to the standings page and let's finish simming out this terrible season. Let's go to the month, end of July. Oof, 20 games behind already. And no achievements. All right, let's go to the trading deadline. Or sorry, the roster expansion. I think we've already passed the trading deadline. Every once in a while, you'll see some yellow ink here on the left-hand column. So someone in the batting league. Oh, we had a kitty leading the league in batting for a hot minute there. Okay, the 1908 kitty was the bat of the month in September and has a and Dave Steve 84 has a 22 inning scoreless streak. Did help us get over 400, so that's good. 24 and a half games back. The Astros are actually third in the majors with 80 wins. So we're this 24 and a half will feel inflated because we're behind a really good team. But we are not the worst in the majors again. We're still third or fourth worst. All right, let's go to the end of the regular season. We're at 55. I do think we'll pass the Gilbercules update of 58. I don't think we'll hit his initial guess of 85, though. We'll be hard pressed to hit 70. Okay, we had a shutdown streak of 13 games by the 85 Steve and a 20-game save streak by the same 85 Steve. And we finished with 61 wins. Oh no, we have one more game to do because we simmed to the end of the regular season. Now we have to end the regular season with one more game. And 62 and 100. Pretty bad, but not historically bad. And unfortunately, we did sink to the worst in the majors. But we did take the place of the Oakland Athletics, so I don't think. What did the actual A's do in 23? Let me pull up Baseball Reference. Let's see. 2023 Oakland. Oh, they were 50 and 112. This is a 10-game improvement. 50 and 112 to 62 and 100. 10 games better. Thanks to the Kitties and Steves. Let's get to the postseason awards. Let's see if we got any votes for anything. But let's take a quick look at the stats now the regular season's over. Oh, wait, before that, let me screenshot the standings. I do this for all of our sims so we can kind of look back and compare. This will be one of the worst ones, but we keep them all. Here are the pitching stats. Let me get a screenshot of this. Let's see. The 80 Dave Steve. Let's not look at wins and losses because our record is so bad. Let's look at things like whip. Um, I'm sure the whip isn't helped by the terrible defense that was behind this. So let's go to maybe pitch stats too. Let's look at fielding independent. Oh, that's batting stats too, pitching stats too. Okay, here's FIP. I mean, some of these seasons aren't too bad, but yeah, we had no starter with a winning record. This team went 3-10 out of the bullpen, and the 85 team was one of the few bright spots. Went 5-7 with 27 saves. So we might be in the run for a reliever of the year, maybe. Uh, a few really good strikeouts per nine performances, but pretty high walk rates. How does that compare? Let's go into one of these Steves and look up the real life stats here. If you didn't know, you can look up real life stats from the player's profile. Okay, in line with historic walks per nine of around three, even going high as four some years. So, okay. Yeah, just I'm sure the lack of offense and also the poor fielding behind him contributed to this, to the poor pitching results. Okay, let's go look at the batting stats. I wonder too if fatigue became an issue since we only had 12 kitties. Ooh, look at all these snowflakes. All right, let's see. We had a bunch of double-digit home run seasons. We had three kitties with OPSs above 800. I'm really stretching here for the positives, but um, yeah, just not a super strong offensive season here. I mean, this '08 kitty, 50 doubles, 24 home runs, 320 average. That's a good stat line there. 891 OPS. All right. Well, did I? I'm getting tired. I don't know if I can't remember if I screenshot this, so I'm going to screenshot it again. Okay. Well, let's see what happens in the postseason. Then we'll look at the postseason awards, and then we'll call it a night. I always like to do this from the tree. Oh, we have to go to the postseason, I guess, to see the tree. Playoffs begin. We did have a 2020 players, the '05 and the '08 Kitties. And let's look at the playoffs tree. There we go. All right. Now I'm just going to root for the Mariners the rest of the way here. And the Mariners advance, winning the wild card series 1-0 over the Angels. In the National League, the Phillies win to advance to play the Dodgers. The Mariners will be playing the Astros, while the Twins and Rays and the Braves and Cubs face off in the non-wild card division series. And we'll do the next round. Oh, and the Mariners advanced 3-2 over the Astros. The Twins handled the Rays 3-1. The Braves sweep the Cubs, and the Dodgers advance over the Phillies, requiring a game 5. All right, the Mariners are still in it. Kitty is a stolen base monster. Oh, really? Let's go check that out. D-Block, thanks for the 6L update. Both semis are at 1-1. So D-Block, you said Kitty is a stolen base monster? I forgot to look at that. Oh my goodness, you're right. Wow. One, two, three, four kitties with over 20 steals, and eight with double digit steals. Huh. Well, that's interesting. Did not expect that. In my mind, I don't think of our 5L and 6L kitty as being that fleet of foot. I'm glad you noticed that, D-Block. Thanks for that. And let's go back to the tree and see who makes the World Series. Yeah, and very few caught stealings to go with it. You're right. That was impressive. Oh, and the Mariners lose to the Twins 4 games to 2. The Braves sweep the Dodgers. So we've got a Twins Braves World Series, a repeat of, was it 91? And the Braves win the World Series 4 games to 2 over the Twins. I'm going to screenshot this and then we'll do the postseason awards. Great base running instincts. Yeah, D-Block, did you know that Kitty had that in him based on the player card in Perfect Team? So few people run in Perfect Team. I don't even know if I've looked at his secondary skills. Okay, this is our lowest game score yet, a 108 game score. If you've played the base game, that is a terrible score. Oh, they even tell us this is a very poor score. Come on, you can do better. I'm surprised the extent to which an all Kitty, all Steve team did so poorly. I guess I overestimated the effect the pitching could have. He has an 81 steal ability and 79 aggressiveness. Okay, so like I would think I would call those like moderate steal numbers. I would not have guessed they would lead to so many double digit steals. Okay, let's see. I think reliever of the year is something we might have a chance at. So we go ahead and clear out the inbox here so we can find our emails a little bit easier. And we will zoom to the first postseason awards, which are the Great Gloves. With so many keys out of position, I doubt we'll have any of these. Yeah, so I'm going to copy that. All right, and then I think reliever of the year might be next. Okay, let's see. So it's won by Felix Bautista, which is usually what happens, and we did not get any votes, despite a 20-something save season. All right. Tuberculosis lap will be in tears, so I've watched this same dreams crushed. Yeah, you know what though? Maybe for his birthday or some other, maybe if he hits some sort of Twitch milestone, I'll do this again, but this time we'll just take the peak Kitty and the peak Steve and we'll just copy them over and over. I think it'll work out a little bit better that way. But I just think the lack of fielding up the middle is going to always haunt this team. But I'd be curious to see how an all peak Steve, all peak Kitty team would do. If anyone tells him the outcome of this, though, I'm sure he'll claim that we somehow rigged it against against them. Well, it fits on Utley has 60, 80 steals with his 125 ability and 73 aggressiveness. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we did not win Reliever of the Year. Did I copy and paste that? Yes, I did. Okay, then the next awards are going to be Platinum Stick. Oh, look at this. Did we win 2 Platinum Stick awards? What? At first base, 1908 Kitty, that's the peak Kitty. 320 average, 530 slugging, 3.9 WAR. Those 23 steals, I have noticed that for postseason awards and that the game engine really favors stolen bases. Berkeley's, don't tell Ezra about this result either. She would have a field day. I didn't even think about that. The weaponization of these results by anti-Kitty folks. And then look at this second baseman Kitty, the 1905 Kitty. And that second base defense would be legit because we didn't mess with any of the infield ratings. Uh, other than to get shortstop. Oh, so this one might have benefited from as we were boosting infield ranges to try to get more shortstops. This second baseman might benefit on the defensive side, but the offense was not unchanged. So this kitty came in with a 284 average, looks like an 824 OPS with 28 home runs and 22 steals. So, all right, there's a silver lining to our season. Two, um, what? It's not Silver Slugger. What is it? Platinum Stick Awards. All right. Yeah, that's definitely a bright spot in this season. Nice. Rookie of the Year. Looks like that 1898 uh, Kitty did not win it and was not even in the running, really. So let me copy that. Okay. Manager of the Year. Normally, I'm in contention for this with some of the great teams we bring into 2023, but not this time. Not this time. Yeah, Kevin Cash usually wins if we don't win this award. Okay. And then I think it's time for the big ones, Cy Young and MVP. Cy Young will be first. Sonny Gray from the Twins. I think that's the first time he's won this award since I've been simming 2023. He swept the first place votes. He went 18-8 with a 2.44 ERA. Maybe it's good, Gabricules, that we did this when Ezra's on vacation, so maybe he won't hear about it. All right, and then one last award, the MVP award. And the MVP winner was Shohei Ohtani. Swept the first place votes. 58 home runs, 119 RBI, and a 287 average. Wow, that is a good season. All right. I think that's it. Let's look at the league leaders real quick, and then I think we'll call it a night. MLB statistics. I don't know why the default is combined. I'm going to say this every time because it's so annoying. The default should not be combined. Okay, well, there are our two Silver Slugger kitties coming in at second, and fifth in batting average. We had no one in the top eight for home runs, RBI, base percentage, slugging. Our peak kitty did manage to get in seventh place for OPS, and no one for WAR. 1909 kitty led the league in at bats. 08 kitty led the league in hits with 195. I think that's that dead ball era endurance coming into play. 08 Kitty was third in runs scored with 109. We were fourth and seventh in doubles. That's that dead ball gap power, I'm sure. All right, and then how's the pitching? How did Dave Steeves do? This is shocking that like nowhere in these positive categories are there or is there yellow text for Dave Steve, and uh, Steeves did finish second and tied for third in losses with 15 and 14. I mean, the only potential league leader here is seventh in strikeouts for 227 for the 1984 Steve. Yeah, this is just a generally underwhelming season. But we will save it. And I do think the next time, D Block, do you happen to know when Lap's birthday is? I wouldn't mind doing a roster of peak kitties and peak Steves and see if they do any better. And I'll have the video on YouTube. I can go back and see like what changes we made to the fielding ratings to make all the positions possible. Okay, D Block does not know, but yeah, maybe we'll have like a streaming milestone coming up, like 2,000 followers or something, and when in honor of that, I'll do this again with Peak Steve and Peak Kitty. Um, but yeah. So other than that, I just wanted to. This was a unplanned stream that was just inspired by today's Laptophound stream. And I just wanted to also show people how quickly you can just like whip something like this together. Like the idea happened this morning. If I hadn't been working and stuff, like I would have just done it then. But like the same night, I was able to put this stream sim together. You saw how quickly we could do it. So this was an unplanned one. So the other things I had planned for this week are I'm doing a oh, D-Block says he needs 46 followers to 2,000. Okay, cool. When he hits 2,000, we'll do this again with Peak Steve and Peak Kitty. Um, it'd be great if y'all can help out with this and maybe give me some names. I'm going to put up the short list of rosters pretty soon onto the Discord. But the first is bust to best. I'm going to take a bunch of historic Major League busts and change all their current ratings to their potential ratings. So whatever the scouts thought they were going to be, they're going to be, and see how they do. And then the other one is what could have been roster. These are all players who had their careers cut short by injury or death or some other unfortunate circumstance. And we're going to go to their probably their peak season or maybe their rookie season, but turn their injury ratings down to 0. And I'll probably have to change instead of recalc. We'll have to do development with them, so they'll just basically hopefully just progress towards their peak, and see what could have been if they had been able to play out their careers. Interestingly, 3 of the people on that short list were in today's PTMS cards or PT was it PTMS? Yeah, Master Series. Um, Dickie Thon, which is why I knew those Dickie Thon facts in the chat. uh, who was it? Dickie Thon. Let me pull up my Discord. I messaged Spore afterwards because I had sent him the list, but I don't think he had looked at them. And it's not like he would have had time to have been influenced it anyway. But I just thought it was coincidence that um, Dickie Thon, Jose Fernandez, and Troy Tulowitzki, all 3 of them were on my short list for what could have been roster. So yeah, I'll be looking for ideas for those. I'll share what I have so far, and if you guys can help me think about like who I'm missing or the other thing that is interesting conversation I think is on that what could have been list, like how do you handle Ted Williams? Like he had a Hall of Fame career, but he missed parts of 4 or 5 seasons to military service. I mean, it's weird to say like what could have been with someone who's in the Hall of Fame, but like he could have been even better. Like he might have clearly had the best batting stats of all time if he hadn't missed those seasons. Even I think Ken Griffey Jr. He was injured so much. I think if you didn't take those parts of seasons away, like maybe Barry Bonds has a harder time reaching the career home run total. And then I have a new series that I'll be revealing the roster for over a couple of days. Pitchers one day and batters another day. And that roster, I'm going to be playing a weekly series where every probably Monday, I'm going to play and show maybe not even highlights, maybe play by play for this roster in every week until we finish the season. So that's a bit of a teaser. I think once we do roster reveal 1, which will I think probably be the pitchers, I think there'll be a lot of interest for people to see who's on the batters list. Gabrickley says Mike Trout without injuries or on a better team. Yeah, Mike Trout's another one where he's clearly a first ballot Hall of Famer, but it'd be great to see what he could have done if he hadn't gotten hurt so much. Yeah, there's some crazy. Here, I'll pull up his baseball reference profile. It's crazy how few games he's been able to play the last few seasons. Um, Let me switch over to baseball reference here. So here's Mike Trout stats. If you look, starting in 2020, now 2020, that was a COVID shortened season. Still, 53 games, 36 games, 119 games, 82 games. Like those are fragments of seasons. And he still made all-star games, but a lot of that I think is popularity, right? And that's why we have to turn popularity off when we sim. Um, all the black ink comes to a halt in 2020. The black ink is the bold for league leaders. So yeah, like Mike Trout's one where if we're out for all those injuries, what could have happened? And his career's not over, but it's definitely changed the direction of his trajectory. So yeah, so right now the list for the what could have been, and here I can share what I have so far. Um, let's see. Here's the cut short roster. Let me switch to it so you can see it. Um, hold on, I'm just trying to share the right. Okay, here it is. Okay, so I've got like Thurman Munson, Don Mattingly. If Don Mattingly's back hadn't gone out, I think he could have been an all-time great. Dustin Pedroia, if Manny Machado hadn't taken him out. David Wright. Here's Tulowitzki. Bo Jackson. It's not like Bo Jackson would have been a Hall of Famer, but it would have been great to see like he could have done in baseball if he hadn't gotten hurt playing football. Grady Sizemore. Dale Murphy's one where he was already, in his 30s. And that was back when like 30 was today's 40. But he had a knee injury that completely wiped out his performance afterwards. Uh, so D Block saying 17-0 means one loses the next series. Granted, it was 4-1 and not 4-0, but still the sim engine is so predictable. uh, Steve Chilcott, I didn't know whether to put him on the bust list or the injury list because he was a bust, but after researching it, it was because he hurt his shoulder diving into first base on a pickoff attempt. So he would have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. He would have turned into Bonds before Bonds. Are you talking about Mike Trout? No, who are you talking about, D Block? Oh, Bo Jackson. Um, and he was still learning to play the game, Bo Jackson. It'd been great to see like what he could have turned into, but yeah, that hip injury, just sapped all his power. Dave Orr, he's a dead ball era player who had a stroke right after a 373 season. Um, Nomar, if he hadn't had all those injuries, especially that wrist injury, Dickie Thon, this is why I knew about the beating by Mike Torres. I had already done this research. Ted Williams, that military service, he served twice. He served during World War II and Korea. Tony Canigliaro, he's the reason I kind of started this list together. He got hit by a pitch. He had two massive home run seasons, a 19-year-old and a 20-year-old. He got hit by that pitch and was never the same. Like really tragic. Josh Hamilton with the car accident and then the subsequent substance abuse. I didn't put any players in here whose primary reason for the fall off was substance abuse because that feels kind of self inflicted. But my understanding was Josh Hamilton was like the car accident came first. But it's I wouldn't be I wouldn't fight too hard to keep him in here if people are like, yeah, but it was mostly substance abuse. So the people of the angles. I don't know what the first part was, but they said they had never seen anyone with more power than Bo in 1994. He could just not run anymore with his hip. Yeah, my understanding too, though, was with the hip injury, he also lost some of his hitting power too, which wouldn't surprise me because you need that weight transfer to hit. Oh, the Angels. Yeah, but I thought he was of the Royals. But these are Angels scouts that were talking about this. Yeah, I mean, just watching the All-Star game and just, seeing him on TV once in a while, he was just great to watch. Eric Davis, he was a favorite player of mine, even though he played for the Reds, and it was sad how the injuries just took away all of his potential. Ruben Mateo broke his leg, wasn't the same after. He had hit 336 in AAA. Coming back from his hip injury. Oh, I didn't realize that, D Block, that he was coming back with the Angels. Okay. So when they said they had never seen anyone with more power than Bo in 1994, you're saying post hip injury, he still had more power than they had ever seen? Which, if that's the case, that's impressive because if he couldn't do the uh, the hip turn and the weight transfer, but still had that much power, that's impressive. Rocco Baldelli, who again, most of these are injuries. Lady Baldwin, who had a good card in PT24. Jose Fernandez. Here, I'll skip this up. Tim Salmon said that, and Chili Davis too. Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. If they were that impressed with his power post hip injury. Carl Spooner, this guy's amazing. I actually found this and submitted this to Spore for this small sample seasons. He came out for a cup of coffee with the Dodgers in 1954. Two starts, two complete games, two shutouts, and 20. I think it was like 27 strikeouts in two starts. And then he played part of a season the next year with some arm trouble, and then never pitched again. So he had like an immortal partial call up season and then like a silver season and then retired. And then like, they're the usual suspects I think modern day everyone thinks about. There's Steven Strasburg, DeGrom, Pryor, Wood. Um, he had 13 home runs and 43 RBI and 201 at bats. Yeah, that's like a high power rate. You're right. You're right, D Block. He had more power post hip injury than I thought. But then there's some uh, older example. So Monty Stratton went 15-5 with the White Sox and got shot in a hunting accident. Uh, J.R. Richard, who had the stroke in the 70s. Mark Fidrich, he's one of my favorites. He was a rookie of the year. I think he started the All Star game that year. Finished second in Cy Young voting as a rookie. But the Tigers just rode his arm too much, and he was just a shell of himself, even just the year after. So basically, a full season times three. Yeah, right. If you triple those numbers, that's his full season numbers. So 39 home runs, 126 RBI. Yeah. Johan Santana, he's another one who had like a good career, but I think everyone points to those 2004, 2006 seasons and says like, what could have been if he hadn't gotten hurt? Brandon Webb with the Diamondbacks. I didn't realize he had finished first, second in Cy Young Award voting between 2006 and 2008. Brett Saberhagen, who D Block, I would assume you have a soft spot for as a former Royal. I also like him as a former Met. Injuries really uh, not only shortened his career, but I think lowered his effectiveness. He won Cy Youngs in 85 and 89, but just, I think tailed off significantly because of injuries. Um, David Clyde, sad story of him being rushed to the majors. And he was actually starting to realize his potential and then just got cut short by being overused. Same with Fernando. Uh, Brian Taylor, I had him on the bust list, but I didn't realize it until I was researching this. He actually hurt his shoulder defending his brother in like a bar fight or some sort of fight. Dislocated his shoulder, and then he just was never the same after. So if he was 13-9, I think uh, in the minors the year before, if he had been a 500 pitcher for his career for the Yankees, he would have made bank. And all that was gone because he got in a fist fight. That's really sad. I mean, it's bad decision making too, I'm sure, but still kind of sad. Um, who was? Oh wait, I'm missing someone. Oh, okay. That's the cut short list. In the busts, I didn't know about this guy. He was amazing. Danny Goodwin. He was the first overall pick twice. Twice he was the overall number one pick. They picked him. He didn't sign, so he went to school, went back in the draft, and he got picked number one overall again. Um, so yeah, so there's a bust list and a careers cut short list. I can post both of those. I'm hoping to get some input from everybody and make sure I have like well-rounded rosters for those. Um, but yeah, and then this weekly series, I think it'll be super fun. Um, I think I'll know pretty quickly from the reactions to the roster reveals that I'll be doing, whether or not there's gonna be a lot of interest in that or not. But I am looking forward to it. I think it'll be really good. Lincecum on that cut short list. Yeah, I was thinking about that. He what I wasn't sure. Let's pull up his BREF actually. I'm mostly looking for guys who like the injury happens on their upswing of their career, and so yeah, I can see there a case being made for him. I mean, God, he comes out of the gate so strong, right? Back to back Cy Young awards. It is second and third seasons. See, because I don't know how much of this is just he's just reaching the end of his career versus um like to what like how much more run would we like I guess how much more divergence is there from his trajectory? Um, 'cause that's even some of these players who are over 30 on the list. I wonder if I'm going to keep them on because they already had their run. Yeah, his shoulder gave out, but like it's different. I think if his shoulder runs out up here after his like 25 or 26-year-old season versus it giving out. Well, I guess it probably gave out here, right, in the 5.18 ERA season. So yeah, you know what? I'm gonna add him. I think that's a good call. He had come up before. I had reserved judgment since I hadn't had a chance to look into it, but now that I look at that trajectory, I think he belongs on the list. It started in 2011. Yeah, because if that's what kind of caused the end of his All-Star run too, um, yeah, I think it makes sense to include him then. Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully some of you guys will be able to join us for some of these. The roster builds I think are always interesting. Picking the peak seasons for these, so we're gonna be picking early seasons. What I'm really curious to see is when we dig into their profiles in the game. I'm hoping, and Paul Sporer says he believes this is the case. But if we look up one of these, um, let's say for the bus, if we look up on the bus in their draft year season, will their potential reflect what the scouts thought they would be then, and not what we know happens to them in the end? And Paul thought that it would probably reflect what the scouts thought, which makes sense because um, you don't want the game kind of knowing too much about what's going to happen, right? So I'm hoping that's the case. So then what we'll do is we'll just copy all those potential numbers into current numbers, and I'll try to do some rough math to make the splits match up their. So it'll be current splittiness, but with the potential um, amplitude or numbers. I think it'll be fun. Like what could some of these players a lot of it though will be based on what the scouts thought, not just what their real potential was. But I think we're splitting hairs. I think it'd be just fun to see, like, if these players had panned out the way people thought, what could they have done? So I think that'll be a fun series. So yeah, hopefully we'll see you. I'm probably gonna do most nights this week. I don't see any reason to miss any. So I'll be around late at night, and hopefully you guys can join. I'm gonna look for someone to raid into. Is anyone streaming the park right now? Let me take a look here. Oh, Cheeky, awesome, sweet. He's raided into me, so I'm very happy to raid back into him. Any late update, D Block? I can switch over to it now. Now I'm about to wrap up streaming, but any update on the 6L? All right, let's send us all into Cheeky in a few seconds here. All right, thanks again for coming, everybody. See you next time.